Hello students, welcome back to your economics class. I am Mrs. Jenny Shah and we are doing the chapter Globalization and India. This is the last chapter of your economics. Last class we learned about globalization, what is globalization, factors that lead to globalization. Then we learned about the foreign policy and we learned about the liberalization. Today, we go further and we see the impact of globalization in India. No, sorry, we start with World Trade Organization. So, you saw in last class, I told you all about liberalization of foreign trade and investment in India. And this was supported by some very powerful international organizations. I told you that. These organizations, they say that all barriers to foreign trade or foreign investment are harmful. According to them, there should be no barriers. Trade between countries should be free. All countries in the world should liberalize their policies. World Trade Organization is one such organization whose aim is to liberalize international trade. They started the initiative of the developed countries. World Trade Organization, it establishes the rules regarding the international trade. And they see that these rules they are obeyed. 149 countries of the world are currently members of World Trade Organization as on 2006. And as of now, there are 159 countries which are currently members of the World Trade Organization. 24 countries are right now negotiating their World Trade Organization membership, and 31 have been completed since its organization has been made. So there are around 150 member countries today. WTO is supposed to allow free trade for all. In practice, it is seen that the developed countries have unfairly retained trade barriers. On the other hand, WTO rules have followed have forced the developing countries to remove the trade barriers. An example of this is there's a debate on trade in the agricultural products. In chapter 2, we saw the agricultural products, agricultural sector, it provides a lot of employment and significant portion of GDP in India is taken by the agricultural sector. Now, when we compare this to a developed country like US, the share of agriculture in GDP is at 1%, and its share in the total employment is as tiny as 0.5%. And yet, this very small percentage of people who are actually engaged in agriculture in the US, they receive massive sums of money from the US government for production and for exports to other countries. Due to this massive money that they receive, the US farmers can now sell the farm products at abnormally low prices. And the surplus farm products are sold in these other countries, in other country markets at low prices, which affects the farmers of those countries. So let's say a US, can sell the milk at as low as 12 rupees a liter. And when you come to India, our local farmers are selling it at 50 rupees a liter. So they are going to face lots and lots of trouble. So developing countries are asking the developed country governments, we have reduced trade barriers as per the WTO rules, but you have ignored the rules of WTO and have continued to pay your farmers vast sums of money. You are asking our government to stop supporting our farmers, but you are supporting your own farmers. Is this free and fair trade? So this is a debate going on where the developed countries they are keeping trade barriers in their own countries, but At the same time, they're expecting the developing countries to remove the trade barriers. Now we come to so these are the aims of World Trade Organization. That is, they make the rules and they make sure the rules are followed. They stimulate the economic growth. They help promote peace. They raise income. Uh, Free trade cuts cost of living. Disputes are handled constructively. Now let's look at the impact of globalization on India. Last 15 years, globalization of Indian economy has come a long way. Globalization and greater competition among producers, both local producers and foreign producers, has been and has been of advantage to the consumers, particularly the well-off section in the urban areas. There is great choice of products for the consumers who not only enjoy improved quality but also lower prices for so many products. So people are enjoying much high standard of living than earlier. Among the producers and workers, the impact of globalization has not been uniform. First, the MNCs. These MNCs have increased their investment in India over the last 15 years. This means investing in India has been beneficial for the MNCs. And now MNCs are interested in the industries such as cell phones, automobiles, electronics, soft drinks, fast food, etc., such as banking in urban areas. These products they have a large number of well-off buyers. In these industries and services, new jobs have been created. Also, local companies supplying raw materials to these industries have prospered. Now, all the top Indian companies they have been able to benefit from the increased competition. They have invested in new technologies and new production methods to raise their production standards. Some have gained from the successful collaborations with the foreign companies. Globalization has also enabled large Indian companies to become multinational companies themselves. Tata Motors, Infosys, Ranbaxy, Asian Paints, Sundaram Fasteners. These are some Indian companies which are spreading their operations worldwide. Globalization is also creating new opportunities for companies providing services, particularly IT. The Indian company producing a magazine for the London-based company and call centers are some examples. Besides, a host of services such as data entry, accounting, administrative tasks, engineering are now being done cheaply in countries such as India, and these services are then exported to developed countries. Recent years, the government in India, the central and the state government both, they are taking special steps to attract foreign companies to invest in India. Industrial zones, which are called special economic zones, these SEZs, they are being set up. SEZs are to have world-class facilities. They get good electricity, water, roads, transportation, storage, recreation, and education facilities. Companies who set up production units in the SEZ zones, they do not even have to pay tax for the initial period of 5 years. Government also allows flexibility in labor laws to attract the foreign investment. Companies in the organized sectors, they have to obey some set of rules to protect the workers. But in the recent years, the government is allowing companies to ignore many of these rules. And instead of hiring workers on a regular basis, companies now hire workers flexibly for short period of time, and these workers, they have intense pressure of work. And this is done to reduce the cost of labor for the company. Foreign companies, they are still not satisfied and they keep demanding more flexibility in the labor laws. So these are the two things that government is doing to attract the foreign investment. Number one is setting up special economic zones, and number two is flexibility in the labor laws. Now, more foreign people coming in India, more foreign investment, it means rise in the competition. Small producers, they compete or they perish. Large number of small producers and workers' globalization, this is posing a major threat, a major challenge. There's an example in the book on page 68. I'm reading from there. Okay. So I'm going to read that example to you. A small producer competes or it perishes. But for a large number of small producers and workers, globalization is now posing a major threat. Batteries, capacitors, plastic toys, etc. These are some examples where the small manufacturers, they have been hit hard due to the competition from the foreign market. Several of these units have now shut down, and because these units have shut down, the workers are now jobless. The small industries in India, they employ the largest number of workers in the country. So globalization and pressure of competition, they have changed the life of the worker. Most employers are now employing workers flexibly. That means the workers have no job security. Many large MNCs with worldwide network look for the cheapest goods in order to maximize their profits. Earlier, industries used to hire employees on permanent basis, but now they employ workers only on temporary basis. Workers also have long working hours. They work night shifts and also on low wages, and sometimes they are forced to work overtime to make both ends meet. So we'll talk about Ravi. He did not expect that he would have to face a crisis in such a short period of life as an industrialist. He took a loan from the bank to start his own company, and they used to produce capacitors in 1992 in Hosur, which is an industrial town in Tamil Nadu. Capacitors are mainly used in electronic home appliances like tube lights, televisions, etc. Within 3 years, he was able to expand his production and he had 20 workers working under him. His struggle to run his company started when the government removed restrictions on the imports of capacitors. As per its agreement at World Trade Center, World Trade Organization 2001. His main clients, the television company, used to buy different components, including capacitors, in bulk for the manufacture of television sets. Now, because of the competition from MNC brands, it forced the Indian television companies to move into assembling activities for MNC. So even when some of them bought capacitors, they would prefer to import as the price of the imported item was half the price charged by people like Ravi. Now Ravi produces less than half the capacitors he produced the year 2000. And he has only 7 workers working for him. Many of Ravi's friends who are also in the same business in Hyderabad and Chennai, they have closed their units completely. So, because they close their units, those workers they become jobless. And in India, maximum employment is given by these small industries. Now, also there is competition and uncertain employment. Globalization and pressure of competition has substantially changed the life of workers. Because of this constant struggle, and like I said, government is allowing flexibility of labor laws. Many MNCs, they are not permanently hiring the labor. They keep the workers either on contracts or for a short period of time, and they give them loads of work. So if you look, there is an image in your textbook on page 69, okay, where they show the workers in the garment export industry in India, and they have to bear this pressure of the competition. Over here, the factory workers are folding garments for export. Through globalization, has created job opportunities for them, for women. Okay, the condition of employment shows that women are denied their fair share of benefits. We will talk about this lady, Sushila, who's 35-year-old, and she has spent many years working as a worker in the garment export industry of Delhi. She was employed as a permanent worker, entitled to health insurance, provident fund, overtime at a double rate. When Sushila's factory closed, after searching for a job for 6 months, she finally got a job that was 50 kilometers away from where she lived. Even after working in this factory for several years, she is only a temporary worker and she earns less than half of what she was earning earlier. So Sheila leaves her house every morning, 7 days a week at 7:30, and she returns back home at 10 in the night. If she takes an off, she doesn't get any wage. She has no benefits. Factories closer to her home have fluctuating orders, and so they pay even less. So these producers, they are taking this advantage, and I think it's time for India to put in some trade barriers back to protect the local producers and the workers of our nation. Large MNCs in the garment industry in Europe and America, they order their products from the Indian exporters. These MNCs have a wide worldwide network, and they look for the cheapest goods to maximize their profits. To get these large orders, Indian garment exporters, they try hard and they cut down their own cost. Cost of raw material cannot be reduced. So the exporters, they try to cut the labor cost. Where a factory used to employ workers on a permanent basis, now they employ workers on a temporary basis so that they do not have to pay workers for the entire year. Workers, they also have to put in long hours and work during nights on a regular basis during the peak season. Wages are low, and workers are forced to work overtime to make both ends meet. Competition among garment exporters has allowed the MNCs to make large profits. Workers are denied their benefits, and this is all because of globalization. The condition of work and hardships of the workers described or spoken to you about have been common to so many industrial units and services in India. Most workers today are employed in the unorganized sector. More increasingly, conditions of the work in the organized sector have come to resemble the unorganized sector. Workers in the organized sector, such as Sushila, no longer they get the protection or benefit that they enjoyed earlier. So, do you think globalization is good for India, or do you think it's bad? If you think good, why? If you think bad, why? I think just give yourself some time to think over this. What are your thoughts? Pen them down in your notebook. With this, I end today's class. Students, stay home, stay safe, take care, keep learning. Thank you.